Hi, everyone, and welcome to Get Loud Podcast. My name is Anastasia, and this conversation today is brought to you by Love Family Community Development, also known as LFCD. June is a Pride Month, a time to celebrate LGBTQ plus identities, visibility, equality, and respect. So, happy Pride Month! As we celebrate Pride, we want to recognize the importance of creating communities free from hate, discrimination, and bias. That's why today's conversation is connected to the message of Stop the Hate, the movement that encourages respect and understanding for people of all backgrounds and identities. Our goal is to foster meaningful dialogue and conversation and highlight how we can all create safe and welcoming spaces for people to feel respected and empowered to be themselves. So right now we are joined by a very special guest, Camille Adams. Camille, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I am Camille Adams, also known in our area as Chacha Bernadette. That's my stage name. I'm a burlesque dancer, community organizer, community builder. Sacramento Arts Community is where I predominantly do my work. I'm queer, I'm Latina, I'm a photographer, a producer, a performer, and a lot of my work is centered around Sacramento's LGBT community for almost 15 years now here in Sacramento. I founded an all-queer collective. We're called the Darling Clementines, and we create spaces where LGBTQ people plus people can feel celebrated and safe. And that's just my passion, is creating these safe spaces for queer people within our community. Last year, I was actually named and honored as the Sacramento's Pride Grand Marshal.
Did you receive a medal?
I wish. I was like, where's my sash? Where's my crown? But
exactly.
I did get to ride. I got to ride in a convertible in a parade, which I never thought I would do unless, I don't know, like I won a beauty pageant or something.
Well, this is fun.
Yeah, it was really fun, and it was really impactful and powerful. And what I really saw in that experience was that the work that I've been doing to build and create opportunities for queer people in Sacramento and helping people feel like they belong, that it is actually having an impact, not just because I was nominated and in this position, but as I'm on this, in this march, in this convertible, I'm hearing people yelling my name throughout the whole march. And I'm seeing so many familiar faces. And sometimes it feels like just yesterday I was moving here from New Mexico, but it has been almost 15 years. And we have made a big impact in our community, creating a space where people feel truly celebrated and where they can thrive. And I got to see it firsthand as people were giving me my roses at that moment. But I get to see it every month as I continue to build these spaces and see them come back time and time again, because it becomes a home base for our queer community.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So happy to talk to you today. Thank you so much for coming.
You're so welcome.
And so you said that you moved to the US 15 years ago?
I moved to California 15 years ago. So my family is from New Mexico, and our family lineage goes into, New Mexico was Mexico, and then it turned into America. So even though they didn't necessarily, or US, even though they didn't necessarily immigrate from Mexico, it's because Mexico literally became the US, But coming from New Mexico, I'm from a small border town right on the border of Ciudad Juarez. And the majority of my community, my friends' parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, brothers, sisters, they were migrant farmers. They were immigrated from more southern Mexico. And so immigrant culture and migrant culture and the Latin experience and the Mexican American experience is very intertwined, and I'm very familiar with that.
Let's start with talking about Pride Month itself, what it is, where it started, what it is for you.
For me, Pride Month is always just another opportunity to get more eyes and more attention and hopefully more support for the work that we do all year. But as a whole, it's a celebration for queer people, for LGBTQ plus people, um, our history, our resilience, our culture, and especially our joy. But it's also a reminder of the rights and freedoms that we have today and that we fought for. Pride started in 1969 during.
What a beautiful number.
Yeah, it was the summer of love, and it was also the summer of change. You know, it was a moment of change because with the Stonewall riots came light that was lit underneath our queer community, where we had they had enough. They got pushed to the point where revolution was absolutely necessary, and fear be damned. They needed to be able to push back, and they did. And in that moment, with their strength and their bravery, they inspired year after year a gathering of queer people to come and celebrate and remember that moment. And now here we are in 2026.
So thankful.
So thankful
that somebody started it so far ago, but still we have so much more to fight for.
It's not just, corporate sponsorships and rainbow flags and vodka that has a rainbow on it right now. Like, it really does come back to this bigger thing, which is justice and safety for all.
Let's talk about LGBTQ plus people among the immigrants, because I feel like you have already so much on you as you move to new country, you adjust to new society, to new mentality, new language, everything new, and you start from the base, from zero. That's where I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I myself Ukrainian, also queer, and I moved here 2 years ago, and so I kind of started to come out here in the US, and this is like another experience, when you have your whole family all around the globe, and at the same time I feel like Slavic community is pretty conservative.
I mean, the traditional Orthodox religion is similar in their views on queerness as the traditional Catholic community, and that's what I grew up with too, and they are very stuck in their old ways.
Exactly. So as someone connected to the experience of immigrant and experience of person being deep into the LGBTQ plus community, why do you think this is important to these conversations about LGBTQ awareness among immigrants?
I mean, I think these conversations are really important because it often silence creates this fear and misunderstanding. And so many immigrant families come from cultures where LGBTQI identities were rarely discussed openly. It's such a taboo topic, if at all. And if it is discussed, maybe it's discussed really negatively. Sometimes it's because of religion, cultural traditions, or just like a lack of exposure of queer people. But when we don't talk about these issues, I find that people can feel isolated, invisible, and I feel like that's a really dangerous place. And I feel like awareness doesn't require everyone to have the same beliefs. It just simply asks us to recognize each person's and each other's humanity. And, Sacramento is a really beautiful example of what's possible. We do have a large immigrant community from all over. And so I feel like more education and more of an openness to understand and see the humanness of our differences. I really feel like we're all looking for the same thing. We all want support. We all want respect, and we deserve to feel like we belong. And that sense of belonging
it doesn't matter if you belong to church or you belong to LGBTQ plus community, but you can still live together, coexist without, fighting and hate and all
I think that's why chosen family becomes such a large element of the queer experience. And oftentimes that chosen family happens because the family that we were born into may not necessarily accept this, what they're saying is a choice, and what we know for a fact as people who are queer, it's not. And just being ourselves, the choice to be ourselves
Yes.
authentically,
And it's a
can,
bold
it's
step.
scary. It's
It is
scary,
scary.
especially among super traditional families.
Yes.
You know, I was so afraid of feeling like the people that I care the most about and who raised me were going to think that I was sinful or evil, or that I was just doing something that was going to put me in danger. And the reality is, the queer experience is one of vulnerability and can potentially lead to harm, because we do have bigotry and hate out there.
Yes.
But I think that the more listening that our families could do, and then maybe some of the elders in our immigrant communities, um, they've done so much to fight to be here and to get here. They obviously can do really hard things, and this is just a hard thing, and they can overcome this and learn to build those bridges back up with their queer community and the queer people in their culture. And yeah, I just think there's a lot of listening and educating that I think goes a long way.
Thank you for your answer. And you said it is scary to come out to your family. It is just, yeah, it's just scary to come out. You feel very lonely, and the sense of fear sometimes takes over. So to like, as we started talking about fear, I would like to continue about mental health a little bit, because I feel like in many traditions it's still a taboo topic, even to talk about mental health, or like talking about that you can go to a mental health a counselor or a psychotherapist, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Nothing is wrong with you. You don't have any problems. You're not sick. It's just, it does makes your life better,
Yeah.
and it helps you answering some questions. It helps you to elevate your life. At least it helped me a lot. So what do you think about how can rejection, isolation, or silence affect someone emotionally?
Well, I hear you on the mental health and there being a taboo around it. And I think that one of the things that I like to remind people who may be coming from that mentality is that, you know, feeling understood, feeling seen, and processing your feelings and your emotions takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of self love, and it is a level of self care that will continue to pay off years to come, because we all need that. We all need to be seen, and we all need to understand ourselves the best that we can. And those
Yeah.
are opportunities and ways that we can do that. And someone might deeply love their family and their culture and their traditions, while also knowing that sometimes they fear that being honest about who they are could put an important relationship at risk.
Yeah.
And so, if going to a therapist can put your relationships at risk, if coming out can put your relationships at risk, that can create like a tremendous pressure, and people might hide parts of themselves, feel isolated, and struggle to find the support systems that they really do need, and people that understand them and both understand them and their cultural background. And I think that if you are looking for someone to talk to, if you are looking for a therapist, there is a challenge finding culturally competent resources. So you can find a therapist, but is this therapist going to understand your experience as an immigrant, as a refugee, as someone from Jamaica, from Haiti, from the Ukraine? Like, obviously, there are vast cultural differences. And it's not that I don't think that people in those fields couldn't understand a diverse group of people. I just don't think that anybody should have to choose between their identity and their community. And the goal is just to help people feel like they can come and live their life as their whole selves and bring that to the table. And so if you are like a mental health practitioner and you have those experiences within different cultures, different religious backgrounds, I hope that you would advertise that and put that out there so that you can show people that you're like a safe space and that you have that background as well, because I think that will definitely help the conversation move, you know?
There are some things that definitely you don't even say them, but you understand them without saying, you know? And that comes with the context, with lived background, lived experience. And even with language. I feel like if you know, if you talk in your native language, the conversation goes a different way.
You might have a lot more vocabulary. You might have more words to express yourself.
Talking. You choose more precise words. You don't think when you're trying to pick the word that you don't translate in your head. It goes more natural.
I mean, I have this tattoo and it's a Zia symbol, and this is what's on our New Mexico flag.
Really?
And when other people see it that are also from New Mexico, I'll have them come from across like a large room or space. They'll see that from afar and they'll come and talk to me. I've had people see me across the street and come and talk to me because they're also from New Mexico. And this was just like a flag for them. Like, oh, you're from New Mexico. And immediately there's this like connection and we get it. And sometimes being in California, you think, you know, New Mexico is just a few states away. It wouldn't be that different, but oftentimes it feels like I'm on a completely different planet.
Different planets. Sometimes even in California, it feels like I'm on completely different.
Oh yeah. I just went from being in Midtown to here. And I mean, I saw some interesting signs on someone's yard.
Oh my God, I know what yard you're talking about. It's like all in signs.
Yeah, it's all signs and they're all pretty much
not my favorite yard.
Making me feel like this person is not really open to diversity or discussion of anything else. So
only one topic there, only one name.
Very, very proud in their closed-mindedness. Yes.
Thank you so much. It was meaningful to hear that. And I hope that all of you who are listening to us right now can feel a little more free in self-expression and feel more free of talking about mental health, or at least acknowledging that, you know, there are some challenges or problems and that it is okay to seek for help.
And what I kind of see often is that, you know, I personally didn't even come out publicly as being gay until I was 30. So, you know, I'm 41 now and it's been a wonderful journey. Sometimes I still feel like a baby in this culture, you know, but I feel like a baby gay sometimes. But, you know, the reality is the majority of people that might be not feeling safe or not feeling comfortable to be open about who they are, the reality is there's probably two ways out. You are probably going to eventually, it's going to build up to the point where you are going to just do it anyways. So if for some reason, if you feel like at least you are physically safe about it, I say just do it. Because the other option you have is to hide it and deny it and deny it. And that mental space will affect your physical health. It'll affect your mental health. It could even potentially put you in harm of yourself. Even self-harm can come from these places of denying who they are. And even if you don't necessarily feel safe to be out with your family, there are, especially here in Sacramento, there are spaces where you can come and quietly exist and see others like yourself and just feel less alone. You know, I feel like when people feel rejected and are unable to be themselves, it just has such a profound impact on our mental health. But I do know that, you know, it's a spectrum. Obviously, if it is not safe for you to come out, or it could potentially, put you in a situation that isn't ideal. I mean, I understand it. I'm by no means, I'm like forcing or telling people they need to come out when they're not ready. But I also know that you can build some support systems outside of that unit.
Yes.
So if in fact there are some kind of repercussions, whether they're, feeling like you feel like they've rejected you or your identity, at least if you have this other support system, that chosen family. I mean, even our local LGBT center, they have a program that houses youth who are homeless. Oftentimes, those teenagers who are homeless are in that position because they came out to their parents and their parents told them they kicked them out for that.
That's a very common situation.
And that is a very common situation. And I hate to see that. And it's such a weird place to be in because it's so challenging. How do you want to be able to be yourself, so you have to pretend to be someone else to stay in this home.
Yeah.
And I know that those few years, especially within that like middle school, high school age, and you're really starting to figure out who you are. And if you really feel like the rejection could lead to you being unsafe, you hold that in, and that's torture.
It is.
It is really torturous. And I just want, if there's like a young queer person who's listening to this that's feeling really scared about being queer, there is that whole concept of like, it gets better. But hi, I'm a 41-year-old queer person, and I'm telling you, it absolutely does get better. There is a level of perseverance. There is a level of trying to get through those times to get to a place where you can sustainably and safely just be yourself.
It healed a part of me just now. No, honestly, yeah, thank you for this message.
I always tell people like having like one supportive person in your life can make an enormous difference.
It's just, you need to get there and to find this first person. After that, you'll see that you're loved, you're seen.
And if you are a parent to a queer person or an elder in a queer person's life and they're struggling with this, like you can be that one supportive person.
Exactly.
And maybe you're the aunt, maybe you're the neighbor, maybe you're grandpa, maybe, mom comes around, but dad hasn't come around. Like making sure that you put yourself out there as a person that is there to support them, and just being very vocal about it and obvious, I think really helps balance some of that pain,
Yes. Thank you. And continuing this topic, what do you think, what kind of challenges immigrants, especially among the LGBTQ plus immigrants, may face?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think isolation. I think, I'm part of a cultural background that is very much family first. And so even if it's irrational, even if I don't believe it, if my family were to reject me for my queerness, the way that would create like an inner turmoil and splitting of one's identity, I just wish I had the words to best convey the kind of pain and that existence can be. And knowing that there's levels of that, and sometimes it gets pushed to an unsafe level. And, I feel like our elders in our community, if they are rejecting it, it can feel like you are rejecting them and all of the history that you have with them. Yeah. So even if your parents have been good to you and stayed by you and they were committed to being a good parent and you have this wonderful relationship, that almost makes it harder to tell them and disappoint them. And so listening is such a huge component of that. And I think sometimes just being careful of the way that you react and your reactivity.
Exactly, yes.
If you have a young person in your family that is telling you this, they're telling you this through a lot of anxiety, and to finally get it out there. And it's it can be a lot of pressure on the
Mhm.
parents to have the right response, and they don't know what to say.
Yes.
And, I've had things like, I love you, but I don't believe in this, or I love you, but I can't condone this.
What do you think can be a good answer for a parent or elder, someone older in the family, if they are shocked, if this is the shocking news for them, how they can respond to by not offending the kid, but at the same time, maybe taking this time for themselves also to
I think like a simple statement of just saying, I love you and I'm here for you can change someone's life.
Yeah.
So I think leading with curiosity rather than judgment and asking questions and still staying connected. It's okay to not say too much.
Mm-hmm.
If
Exactly.
you need time to think about it, give yourself time. And in the interim, you can say, I love you and I'm here for you.
That's
And
it.
if
That's
literally
enough.
that's all you say, you could then go to your husband, go to your neighbors, go to your other family members, go to your church counselors or your leaders, and then work that stuff out on your own.
Yeah.
Because it already took a lot of guts for that person to be open about who they are. So I think really leaving it as, I love you, I'm here for you, I'm listening to you, and I'm not judging this, it would go miles and miles. And once you get them to a place where they believe that and they know that you're not going to hurt them, then you could start asking questions. I understand that if you are not a queer person, there are a lot of questions that come
and
up.
a lot of not understanding.
Yeah.
And a lot of viewing this world from the straight person perspective, which is a majority. So you always think that everything and everyone should be the way I am and the way I think. It happens the way that people are like, oh, I'm cool with LGBTQ and I love gays and everything is amazing. But as soon as somebody coming out in your family, you're like, oh, but that's different. Now somebody in my family came out and now I feel weird, or I don't know what to feel about that,
I think oftentimes we see our children as they are a piece of us and they represent us. But the reality is we are all individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, I really, if you are somebody who feels like this is like a choice or a response to something, I mean, at the center, of course we would deal with groups coming in. When I worked at the LGBT center, we'd still have protests and people telling us that we were going to hell. And, as somebody who grew up with my grandfather was a preacher and, very involved in church, that's a pretty hard thing to hear, when you are just trying to do something that feels so natural to us. We still come across people who think that homosexuality is a direct response to abuse.
Yeah, it's a trauma.
I have not been abused physically, sexually in my life and in my childhood. This is not a response or a retaliation to that. I haven't been hurt by a man or not found the right man
yet.
And that's why I'm with this. This really is something that I look back on my life in the last 40 years, there was signs when I was 3, 4, 5 years old that this was the direction and this is who I was, And so
with time, after you start to realize, you reveal, you start to see more oh, that's why I was doing that. Yeah.
That was so gay.
Mind blowing.
You would have thought me getting my degree in women's studies and feminism and learning about feminist theory, and all of my friends and my teachers were queer.
And I remember, and you're like, no, but I'm not.
But I wasn't. And I remember the thing is I had a little bit of the opposite. My mom kept telling me, are you sure you're not gay? Are you sure?
Really?
You can tell me. And I just kept saying, no, I'm not. And so when I did finally tell her, it wasn't it wasn't a surprise.
She was finally, I knew.
Finally, yeah.
So, talking about families and
Yeah.
acceptance, for the families who are listening today, who may not fully understand LGBTQ plus identities, and what would you like them to know about that, or about sexuality in general, or about, if the commonly said sentence that this is your choice?
Oh my gosh. I mean,
What would you say to that?
and I often think about how much violence is perpetuated, especially on like our Black trans, um, brothers and sisters. And I think that obviously, I think a Black trans femme in the deep South who is getting beat up and threatened, and their life is threatened, and they might not feel safe, and they feel isolated and alone, and maybe even contemplating like doing something awful about it. I feel like that is not a choice.
Yes.
That person, if they had a choice, very much would do the thing that makes them safe. They are not choosing to put themselves in a constant harm's way, or to feel rejected or feel this lonely. These things are, the concept of it being a choice is just another form of manipulation that's been put into our brains through the status quo and through conservatism. And it's why it's so important for queer communities to create safe spaces and safe environments.
So, as you mentioned, safe environments for everybody. How can communities create safer and more respectful environments for LGBTQ plus people that are still, but that these environments are still respecting different like cultures and differences in
Yeah,
general?
yeah. I mean, one word: empathy. I think
Mm.
it starts with empathy. I know we use that word a lot, and I mean, look, I just got goosebumps. I think that that really is core, um, the core element of all the work that I do. And I think that we can respect cultural traditions while also recognizing that everybody deserves dignity and safety, and communities can create safer spaces by challenging bullying, encouraging respectful dialogue, and supporting youth and mental health, and just making sure that people know that they belong. And
Mhm.
in my work in producing events here in Sacramento, I've seen how transformative it can be when people walk into a room and immediately feel welcomed. And sometimes inclusion is as simple as just making sure that people know that they're valued. Obviously, my hope would be that we would be seeing things in media and within our educational system where empathy was being more encouraged, and was even something that was really taught and nurtured within our
Yes.
like school. I would
And
love.
emotional intelligence in general.
Yeah,
Nobody talks about it. Nobody
yeah.
teaches that.
And the leading with curiosity is a really good way to go about it, and I think from both ends. If I wanted to have a conversation with my grandmother, who is a fundamentalist Christian, and you know told my mom that she did not believe in homosexuality, same as she doesn't believe in Black Lives Matter. I wanted, my first response was like, I'm not Santa Claus. It doesn't matter if you believe or not believe. This is who I
Exactly.
am. But I think that, especially now as I'm more mature, I think that even leading that conversation with some curiosity could go a long way. So
Hmm.
instead of feeling immediately offended and saying, well, fine, you reject me, then I reject you,
Hmm.
I'm out of here. I think that there is some space to allow people to come to terms and to learn. And a lot of these opinions are not even opinions that they made up of their own. This is something that their religion or their parents or their culture has told them is, this is the opinion to have.
Exactly.
So, having time, giving them time, having space, try not to be super reactive, and understand that the person that could be your biggest rejection, your mom, your dad, there's so many stories of when they come around too. And that's why it's important to have that good support system outside of that. So you can deal with the difficult challenge that is bringing your identity and your cultures together.
All about unity.
Unity.
No, honestly, that's my favorite. I'm always about unity, about peace, about love among everybody, and I'll do my best from my side what I can do by respecting what you're doing and not judging it, because why would I,
I mean, if we lead with humanity, we usually find that we have much more in common than we realize.
Yeah. Yes, but that's the humanity, and it should be a priority, not something else. Not the priority that I'm always right and you're wrong, or like even looking for one who is right and who is wrong, and just splitting the world and everything to duality,
Yeah.
There is so much more than that. There is no just black and white, yes and no. There are shades.
Very much. I love the conversation around gender and there being a spectrum, because it started opening up the conversation in general that this concept of the spectrum lies in everything that we do, in every part of our being. So there is a spectrum for not everybody who feels 100% anti-gay is necessarily always going to feel like that forever. And it's also not your responsibility to change the way people think.
Yes.
Obviously, if those relationships and they're not open to you, they're not open to respectful and loving and human, conversation, I just feel like we have to continually choose that lighter path. And I think that resilience and that resistance is a unifying attribute of all of us under this rainbow umbrella.
Oh, I love that. So this month is also recognized as time to raise awareness about preventing hate and discrimination through initiatives like Stop the Hate. Have you ever heard of this program?
I have, yeah.
So how would you describe this program to our listeners? What is Stop the Hate and why it's important?
To put it concise, I feel like Stop the Hate honestly just means choosing connection over fear. I mean, hate often grows when people don't know one another. We only see labels instead of human beings, and it's just very easy to make assumptions. I also think that stopping hate means recognizing that our differences don't diminish our shared humanity.
Exactly.
And I don't know where we lost our way. Maybe it's just naivete, but I remember going to cultural experiences where multicultural groups would come together and you get to try their different food or enjoy their different music. And in school, in elementary school, every child would pick a different country and we would be able to kind of learn about that. And it just felt like I was being primed and educated and taught in a way to be open to the differences that we have. And yet it feels like that's going away. And I'm feeling like things are more siloed and more separate, and we have physical and metaphorical walls being put up between the us versus them. And
yes, the separation.
yeah, there's just a lot of separation, and there's a lot of like
more and more reasons to feel like we are different, but deep in the base,
we are all the same. And I think small acts of kindness and inclusion really matter. And I feel like community healing it's never going to happen through division. It's always going to happen through our relationships. And I might not be able to get through to my grandmother, but I might be able to get through to my mother, who can talk to my grandmother. And my grandmother might not necessarily get to a place where she thinks that what I'm doing is not a sin. But if I could just get to a place where she can see the human in me, and we can still love each other for the fact that we are family, I think that's where we are. I made the choice not to fight her about it, because the reality is I have so much support and I have so much love. And if there's a few people here and there that want to take issue with who I am, I just don't want to make that my responsibility.
Do you still feel sad about it?
Yeah, of course, but also not surprised. I think,
I know, yeah. Because of the things they said in the past, you already kind of know what their reaction is going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not a surprise for you. You're kind of just getting ready for.
And I still think, when she sees me, she still sees that like 2-year-old girl, so I do know that there is still love there. And there is just oftentimes, especially us younger generations, we do kind of forget what our older generations went through. And even them not saying anything could feel like a deep rejection to us. But for them, that could be miles and miles more open and progressive than perhaps their grandparents or their parents would have responded to something like that. So it is like pushing this needle forward slowly. And obviously, like if you have a really negative relationship with your family and you are speaking to a therapist and they suggest that you should go no contact, I think that I understand why that's a thing. But I think that like you ask a person from an immigrant family and that feels impossible. I know that feels impossible. So just like, I'd say I'm getting teared up.
Yes.
Because the level of sacrifice it takes for people to come into this country and build a life here, we do not make it easy. It's very, very hard. And so if you are, sometimes you can feel really guilty to want to come out too and just add to the stress.
Yes.
For me, I felt like I just didn't want to give my parents anything else to stress about, anything else to worry about, because they were already trying to like live in poverty and survive, and we were like on food stamps.
You didn't feel like there was space and place and time for you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But it's a beautiful thing now, because now I get to be that space for young queer people. So many more people.
That's so beautiful. That you transformed this, let's say, pain and maybe even trauma to such a beautiful thing that now you share this experience and help other people to go through it easier and with support.
It's just as much for me as it is for the community that I'm doing it for. It is healing.
This is your, let's say, path and way, right? I can see that. That it's easy. Sometimes it's so easy to do something because you feel like you were born to do that, and all the experiences in your past led you to this exact place where you're at right now to do the thing that you're doing, and it is so rewarding and beautiful.
It is really rewarding.
Do you need a napkin?
I know.
Thank you. Do you need a few moments to?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Okay, then we have.
When I'm like hosting my show, I cry.
You have your own show?
Yes, I do. I'm the host. So my burlesque show is once a month at a venue called Harlow's. We're right in the heart of Midtown.
Harlow's. It's a beautiful venue.
Yeah, I love it because it gives It's wheelchair accessible. There's comfortable seating for everybody. So multi-generational, everybody can come out and be comfortable, and there's food and,
and it's cozy.
It's It's a good, cozy, good spot, but
not too big, not too small. You have space to dance at the same time, sit.
Yep. And we have a beautiful stage, and I've been producing this show for 14 years here in Sacramento.
Wow. What is the name of the show?
We're called The Darling Clementines.
The Darling Clementines.
And I am the executive director. I'm also the host, and I also dance.
I love that. I'll definitely come see you.
Please, I'll put you on the list anytime.
Oh my God, thank you.
I mean, we really are a troupe of and a collection of performers that we want to look like the community that we serve. Mm-hmm. So we are multi-generational. We are different ethnicities, different cultural backgrounds, different body types. I don't, as a 6 foot tall, plus size woman, I don't necessarily have a lot of spaces in like your regular world to feel like really accepted in my sensual, like, flirty sides. And burlesque allows me to do that in that space and be really celebrated. And my body, for what it is in its 41-year-old glory, is very much celebrated. And so it has been a very healing experience for me to do burlesque, because it's really helped me accept and love my own body. But I also think for our audience to see that, and to see me and people like me up there confidently and getting the kind of praise and positive attention, it's healing for them too, because it goes directly against this mentality that they had. Yeah, it's the representation. That representation is very important.
It is very important.
Yeah.
Let's talk about hate and discrimination that can affect many people and by many different reasons, such as race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, immigration status, or gender identity. So what do you think, and how can communities respond when they witness hate, bullying, or discrimination? What they can do here?
I mean, we recently had an incident where one of our queer elders was attacked in front of Badlands, which is a queer space nightclub in town. And he died from that attack. So it was a person that was throwing slurs and throwing hate before the incident went down. This person was just walking around existing. And,
And the queer person died?
Yes.
God.
I guess the guy hit him in the head hard enough, or he fell back and hit his head. But that ultimately led to him dying within a couple days of the incident. So, this
is already a hate crime, not an incident, because it led to the consequence, the person dying, and the other person who was, hitting or something should be definitely sued.
Oh yeah, I think I'm hoping that he's going to prison for that, but it's, oftentimes I know we seem so happy and celebrating, but that is actually an underlying fear that we all have. I mean, unfortunately, I have experienced, everything from slurs to like inappropriate comments to just being made to feel unsafe because of who I am, be it a woman, a person of size, a person of color, or being queer. And those experiences can be really painful and they can be scary, but they've also really strengthened my commitment to this like community building, I don't know. I just feel that hate really wants people to shrink themselves. And, often we hear things like, well, I don't hate gays. I just don't want to know what you're doing in the bedroom, or I don't want it in my face, just do it in private, and
well, then everybody should kiss in private. Right?
Yeah, which is kind of like why my response has been like the total opposite, right?
Yeah.
And just like dedicating myself to like creating these spaces where people can just fully be themselves.
Wow, that was a piece of information you just said, and it's really sad that still like I believe it happened not that long ago, right?
Yeah, it happened right after Aftershock, and I think that what was really difficult is that Aftershock is this like really awesome thing that we bring to Sacramento, and I just heard that they got renewed to be able to do it for another 10 years, and like
it brings so many people.
It brings
here.
so many people, and it obviously brought some of the wrong people because it was folks that were at Aftershock and they came to Midtown, saw this man in a more flamboyantly dressed costume, and they just decided to take it out. And this is also like a message to people, that person wanted to take out a lot of anger on him. That person wanted to bring pain to that person. And now they're also there. Not only did he ruin that person's life and their family, but he's ruined his own life.
Yes.
So, being able to take a beat and a moment and realize that there are consequences that go much, much deeper than you feeling uncomfortable in a moment because there is a queer or trans person around you.
Yeah.
That's
very sad.
It's very sad.
To continue the topic with the hate, we have hate incidents and hate crime. And so this was definitely a crime. Hate incident and a hate crime are related, but they are different. So a hate incident is any act of hostility or prejudice towards someone because of who they are, such as race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, immigration status, etc. But it does not break the law by itself. A hate crime is when a crime is committed and is motivated by bias or prejudice against protected characteristics.
The victim's daughter is doing a lot of work in bringing awareness to that kind of prejudice and that kind of hate, and is also doing work to try to prevent that kind of stuff happening again. So it's definitely a story to follow, and it's a terrible tragedy that could have easily been avoided,
By just taking a few moments to breathe.
Yeah, maybe we all just need to go dance it out.
Yes, not take it out on somebody.
Yeah.
Well, California versus Hate is a California service that lets people report hate incidents and hate crimes and get support. So you can contact 24/7 support line, call or text. It's going to be on the screen. And you can also report online. It's fully anonymous, so you can report it online or call or text to the number that is on the screen right now.
Yeah, it was really awful, and it's kind of like the one thing we're like the most scared of. When I'm walking holding hands with my partner and it's a beautiful spring day and we're just enjoying Midtown and this lovely weather, and there's always an underlying fear that the wrong person might see us and want to physically harm us, and that we don't deserve to have our joy siphoned that way.
There is so much joy.
There's so much joy for us to have, and we can't even meet that full, potential of joy that we have because there is this underlining vein of fear when we are in public,
Yeah. So before we close, is there one message you would like our listeners to remember from today's conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I guess not to sound too redundant, but I do think like if there's one thing I hope people take away from this, it's that belonging matters. And every person deserves dignity and safety and the opportunity to be fully themselves. Oftentimes, people are coming to this country for those exact same goals. So we are so much more similar than we are not. I've spent much of my life building community through art and activism, obviously, and gathering spaces here in Sacramento. But I've also learned that people thrive when they feel seen. And compassion is not weak. That's not a weakness. And empathy is not a weakness. And listening is not a weakness. Those are all incredible strengths. And
yes.
and that's, when people are like, what are the most important things to building connection? I do think it's those three. And those are the things that build stronger families. Those are the things that build stronger communities and a better future for all of us. And honestly, no matter who you are or where you come from or who you love, I just want you to know that you deserve to know that you belong.
Thank you so much,
You're
Camille.
welcome.
Thank you for these beautiful words, for your voice, for your perspectives, for your job, for your tears, for your genuine answers, and for beautiful words that you said today. I think it's very, very important. Thank you, everyone, for watching this episode of Get Loud podcast. My name is Anastasia, and our guest today is Camille. At LFCD, we also believe that stronger communities built with empathy, education, and support and respect for one each other. So please share this episode with somebody who might need to hear that, or just with your friends and family to be more aware about questions we've been covering today. And yeah, please subscribe to our channel and put like and comment if you feel like you can relate to some of the things we're talking about, or just to support us. And it was nice having you at our Get Loud podcast.
Thank you so much. And if anybody wants any more information about the work that I do with our collective, you can go to thedarlingclementines.com.
We will add the link.
Thank you. And there is actually a whole section on there that goes into our community action work and gives you a little bit of an idea of what we do. And we are always open and interested in doing fundraising events or mutual aid and other ways that we can help our communities beyond just creating a safe, sparkly space for people.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next episode.
And action.
And action.